Hi there, thank you so much for being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips on how I achieved an action portrait of my great nephew Kai. First of all, we'll look at the outline and then the underdrawing of the face and the hair and a little bit of the clothes, plus then putting the rich colours on there and then showing you how I blend all the colours. So be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Right, to just speed things up, I'm just using an inch grid on this one just to get everything correct and in proportion. Using a Pastel 708 grey pencil. Just a light pressure on the pencil to start with until you're happy with the placement is, and then you go over then and firm it up. Now, even though I'm getting an idea of where the placement is within each square, I'm still opening up to the whole. So even though I'm doing this with this method, I'm still feeling the energy of the person feels, and also looking at it as a whole, because I want to try and create a oneness to it. So those little square 1 inch squares are just there just to give you a little bit of guideline. Now you can use a ruler to make sure you've got the right square as well, because that can throw you off if you're not careful. So you can just measure down how many inches it is and then compare it to your reference image. Now the hands are interesting to do. You just got to, like I say, it's just like everything else, you just got to do it loosely to start with and then just get an overall feel to it and then firm it up. Now for the white logos, what I'm doing is using the grey pencils to start with, get an idea where it is, then go over the white. This is a Pastel white, and just making sure that point obviously is quite sharp, and then just feel your way, but then using that kneadable razor now and again just to reshape things, and same with the other logo. For the lettering, what I do is get the shape of the top of the type and then the baseline of the type, so we're getting that shape in first, and then mark the type in, because each type is like a shape, so you get that shape in first, just like little squares. Then it's a case of drawing each letter within those squares then. Anything detailed like this I do with white and grey, so I'm just reshaping with the 708 and the white together, because it don't cause any problem with the colours then, you see, because every colour can be a grey, so it don't cause mud. So if you just use it like that, keep it simple, just using grey and white just to get the lettering in there, and then you're good to go then for the colour later on. Now each letter is not very clear, so you just draw what you see. That's always the best way. Just draw the shape of it, and then the human eye will fill in the gaps. So don't try and create the letters, just draw what you see basically. Here's a bit of real time just to show you how steady I am with it. It's just a little bit of a mark here and there. You just got to spot it in sometimes, and then just keep moving that shape around with that grey until it looks what you're looking for. And just, you know, just be sort of suggestive with it, and it's your interpretation at the end of the day. Now you have to be careful that you're not really focusing too much and coming out of yourself and being tunnel vision, especially when you're doing sort of things like this, which is a technical way of drawing. What I tend to do is let that image come into me and allow them marks just to happen. At the same time aware of the shapes within each square, so I'm still sort of connected to the heart. So you let go of the mind, open the heart and just let it flow. So when you're aware, you can be aware of so many different things at the same time, but when you're thinking and tunnel vision, you can only think of one thing at a time and you get really fixated. So be aware of being aware, and it just flows from there. If you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Just to mention again, when you're doing something detailed like this, just keep it basic, just using two tones. I mean, here I'm just using white and grey. I sometimes use brown and white. You see a lot in my videos, I do that as well. So, but keeping it simple just makes it so much easier. So here's a look at the outline as a whole. Right, before I start putting the colour in then, what I tend to do is take out that grid with a kneadable razor. This is Faber-Castell kneadable razor, it's an amazing one. I've tried all sorts of brands, this seems to be the best one. And then what I do is just ghost the outline around the face and the hair, just so it don't mix too much with the colours. So you can still see a ghost image there, so you got your guidelines. Here's a selection of the basic colours I'll be using for the underdrawing, for the skin tone. To start with, I'm just adding a little bit of white and then a little bit of darker colour using the brown there. Just getting that sort of idea of form, and just take your time with it and just enjoy the freedom of just creating these tones. So I'm just using brown as an easy way of creating the shadows. I'll be adding the green and the red complementary colours later on when I start putting the rich colours in. With the white, I'm adding a little bit more pressure where it's brighter, less pressure where it's mid-tone. And then just really just being loose with it, just getting a feel for it. Adding that brown now for the hair, just keeping it simple. Then glazing over with the red. And then green to desaturate the areas, or like a shadow area, and then adding that little bit of yellow ochre as well. So all you're doing really is just playing around, getting all these shapes into place. So I'm not really concerned about getting the value right at this stage, or the chroma, or even the colour. It's just a matter of getting that basic form and getting everything into the correct position. So you're just playing about with these colours, but they're not rich enough at this point, but you're just sort of getting that sort of shape right, because you can easily adjust it when there's not so much pigment on there. So you don't want to load loads of pigment onto your pastel mat to start with. You just build it up slowly but surely. Now I'm adding that bit of blue there just to create a colder feel to that skin in that area. I use olive green to desaturate the red, so it creates more of a natural shadow. And then to warm it up, just add that little bit of yellow ochre. Now for the darker areas, I'm using dark green and cold red. It creates really nice depth to it. Now just really connect to the reference image, so open your heart, let go of the mind, and just allow that reference image to come into you rather than going too far out and focusing on it. And then just relax and then just let it flow. Again, this is the underdrawing, so all I'm doing is planning it out, you know, just sort of mapping out these shapes, seeing it not as hair but as shapes, and then that'll keep everything relaxed. And just find the flow of it and feel the movement or the rhythm of the hair and just draw that. At this point I decided to actually lay in some of the shirt in there just to give an overall sort of feel of the portrait. Now I've adjusted my camera, so I've got a better image here now for when I start putting the richer colours in. So I'm basically building up to that now. I'm putting the shadows in, building up that sort of correct value. So I'm putting deeper colours in now into the shirt, so that will then help me to gauge the correct colour. And then what I'll do then is start putting rich colour in the face and smooth it out, and I'll show you how to do that later in the video. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all my patrons for their wonderful support every month. I can't thank you enough. If you're considering joining me on Patreon and would like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please check out the link in the description below. Most of the videos I put on there now are all in real-time audio, real-time video, so you get a real feel to how I approach things and I discuss moment by moment. Now I've put a depth in the shirt now, it gives me an idea then of the value. So now it's about putting the richer colours in. So I'm really being aware of the values, the chroma and the edges. So I'm starting to sort of lay that in now. I'm using the same colours, but all I'm doing is adding more pigment. So I'm keeping it quite simple. And darker green where the darker shadow is there, using that cold red. It's just a matter of just keep persevering with it. That's the key, just keep going, because there's a point where you think, oh, this not getting anywhere because it looks a bit scratchy and it don't look smooth. You just got to keep persevering and persevering. I will show you how I do all the smoothing out later on in this video, but at the moment this is still a blocking, but it's a more of a blocking for the richer colours. So again, I'm just being loose, laying all these colours in, getting a feel for it, just getting the placement right, just adding more pigment, but I'll show you how I'll blend it all in later on in this video. Here's a little bit of real time just to explain out what I'm doing here. I'm using the Faber-Castell white because it's fresher and brighter, and that will create more of a vibrancy and more of a chroma or glow. So I'm adding that first, then glaze over the top. Because it's a fresher white, it seems to stand out more, it's more vibrant. And then blending in with the Carbothello white because it's more chalky. So I'm using two different whites, one for blending more and the other one for the fresher colour. And also the Carbothello white is ideal for areas that are not so sort of vibrant. So you're just playing about with different materials just to get that feel right. I will bring in the blending tools later on. I'm just still working on getting that sort of structure in there richer to start with. Little small circles, look, creating that texture, because skin's not really smooth like plastic. So I'm building up these layers, creating little circles, creating that sort of feeling of skin. I go over that then with the red or the colours yellow ochre, blues and all sorts of things, just to create the actual subtleties. But it's a process of just keep repeating that, using the white, just putting the colours down, white, colours down, until you get that sort of desired effect. For the hair, I'm introducing burnt sienna and brown and blue, and which creates quite nice sort of shadows and subtleties. And just a case of just adding that richer colour, using the green and red for the shadow underneath the hair, just going with the flow of it, like I say, getting the rhythm of the hair. Just slowing it down to real time again for you so you can see how I'm adding a little bit of black and blue together to create more of a deeper shadow. Sometimes you have to add black with pastels, can't always get the right sort of shadow tone, not like when you're mixing oil paint or watercolour, it's slightly different. So sometimes you just have to add that little bit of black in your work, not in the skin tone though, but in sort of shadows like the hair and that. If you would like to know more about how I create shadows in skin tone using the complementary colours, I have got this free class for you. You're welcome to it, and the link is in the description below, so please check that out after you've watched the video. Here's a great tool to have in your kit. It's a colour shaper. It's got a silicone tip, and what you do is just dab 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 with it, so you're just moving that pigment around. What I tend to do is actually wipe the tip of the colour shaper every time I go into a different colour. So it's similar to oil painting, just wiping and then blending with a dry brush. All you're doing with this is wiping the tip to make sure you don't sort of make anything muddy and just keep it clean. Just to show you visually, just turn the tip like that into a clean piece of tissue paper and then dab dab dab. So all I'm doing is dabbing with it, so I'm not scraping it across because it'll take the pigment off the pastel mat. So you're just moving that pigment around, and it's just like painting really. It's quite fascinating. You're just lifting that pigment up and you're actually blending with it as well, so you can just add a little bit of darker colour by pinching a bit from somewhere else and just and really put them subtleties in. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me because this would help the channel to grow. Now some areas of the skin are more glowy than others, they call it chroma, so that's why I'm using the Faber-Castell white down first and then glaze with the colour, and then use the colour shaper and the white to blend it around. the Carbothello white, that is. So it's a case of just keep trying to get a balance. Now I'm using lemon yellow as well, just to create more chroma, so adding that little bit of lemon yellow gives it that zinginess, and then adjusting it accordingly with a little bit of warm red. And with this being quite a small size, you're looking at 2.5 inches, you look at it there, so there's not much space to put all that fine detail in, so you've just got to be suggestive, so it's what to leave out really. So you just put in a little bit of here, a little bit there. I have adjusted it as well to make it more lively, because photographs tend to create flat shadows, and so I adjust it to make it more alive. So moving on to the hair now, again just aim to soften things up here and there, liven things up, so you're just getting the feel for it. So there's parts of it that glows more, so you have to have that white first, so you have to make it lighter than what you really need. Then when you glaze over that white, it creates the right shade, so you're glazing over with the blue, the burnt sienna, yellow ochre in places as well, over that white you've put in, and then keep repeating it until you get that correct sort of vibrancy. And it's just a case of just keeping being sort of open, feeling the whole of the portrait and trying to get a balance of what seems right. And it's just persevering and just really enjoying the freedom of just being loose and suggestive with your marking. Thanks for watching the video right till the end. I hope you've enjoyed it. Here's how it looks at the end of part 1. Part 2 will be following shortly, but in the meantime, if you want to see any more of my work, please check out this video here. Take care. Bye.